What is going on, football fans? I am really excited to start this new series on my page. I've seen a lot of YouTubers do this, and I think it's really cool. It's a really cool way to break down the power rankings in the NFL, or how I would rank teams and why I would rank them that way. And there's a lot of different exercises you could do. If you guys like this after the video, let me know, and I will do other rankings, whether it be the top quarterbacks, top running backs, top coaches, whatever, other sports, top point guards, anything. It could be anything. So I think it's a really cool exercise. And before I get started, I just want to explain what each tier means. So this is not going to be ranking teams 1 to 32. I'm going to put them in specific tiers. S means super. So these are teams that I think are clear Super Bowl favorites, the top of the top. A to me is probably more like a definite playoff team unless they sustain a ton of injuries, and a definite potential Super Bowl contender. B to me is a team that's probably a playoff team or a fringe playoff team. Definitely one of the better teams in the league, but not quite a Super Bowl contender unless they catch a lot of breaks. C is a team that needs to catch breaks to make the playoffs, but has enough talent to probably contend until the end of the season unless they catch some bad breaks. And D is just the bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst. So we're going to start with the first team here, and that is going to be the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos last year was a team that I picked to have a really good season. I thought they'd surprise people. They finished with 6 wins. Their strength is obviously the pass rush with the two-headed monster with Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. We all remember they won a Super Bowl about four years ago or so behind that defense. However, they bring in Joe Flacco. They have some good young wide receivers. I think Flacco could play pretty well there in the thin air. I still don't believe in the Broncos, though, as a potential playoff team, especially in that really tough AFC West. That's just a bear of a division. Next team up, we're going to have the Atlanta Falcons. To me, I'm going to have the Falcons as a B team, a team that I think could definitely contend to make the playoffs. Might not be good enough to win a Super Bowl, but I think they're definitely a team that is probably a 5 or 6 seed in the NFC unless they sustain some injuries, which is why I'll put them in that B spot. Obviously, last year, they had a ton of injuries, which is why they did as poorly as they did. They still have a dynamic offense. They lost Tevin Coleman, but Devontae Freeman, obviously, hopefully back. Matt Ryan, one of the best quarterbacks in football when healthy. Julio Jones. They have a dynamic offense. We all know it. The defense, you hope, gets better with the returning players. So I'll have the Falcons there in the B spot. I also like what they did in the draft. Ravens, I'm going to have in the C spot. I think a lot of people probably have them in the B, coming off a playoff season. They lost C.J. Mosley. Lamar Jackson, we'll see. Now defenses have a second year to prepare for him. And I still don't trust that guy's arm. We saw it in the playoffs. I can't do it. I can't put him in the B. And I think that division is too tough. I think the Browns obviously improved. I still believe in the Steelers. They have a very good defense. I think they were ranked the best or second best defense in football last year. That was before the departure of Mosley, but still a very good defense, which is why they're obviously in contention if things break right to make the playoffs. But I'm going to have them in the C tier. I think they need some things to break right. Bears, I think a lot of people may have in the A or even potentially S tier. I'm going to have them in the B tier. I think they're still a very good football team. They didn't have a draft pick this year until the 3rd round, so they didn't really get a chance to improve their team via the draft. They lost some players in the secondary, whether it be Adrian Amos, and they lost Jordan Howard to trade. They got nothing for him, a 6th-round pick. I know they brought in a running back that a lot of people like. I think his name's Montgomery. We'll see there. We'll see. I think Trubisky does improve. I like Nagy's offense. The Bears are definitely a team that could contend to make the Super Bowl. I just don't fully believe in them, but their defense, is as good as anybody's. The best linebacking core in football, which is why I have them in that B tier. Easy here, Bengals, D tier. I think they're a horrible football team. I thought they were a horrible football team last year. A fake win team, 6-win team in my opinion. I think they're a 3-4-win team this year. Marvin Lewis, he's gone for the first time in forever. I can't believe he kept his job there that long. A.J. Green already banged up. And they had the worst defense in football last year in most major statistical categories. I do not believe in the Bengals. I am in the D tier. Cowboys, I'm going to have in the B tier. I like the Cowboys. Obviously, I don't. I'm a Giant fan, but in terms of their team, I think the Cowboys have a good football team. The offensive line is now healthy. Last year, it was banged up, which is why they ranked 14th per PFF. They have Frederick back. Zeke is obviously a top 3, 4, 5 running back in the sport. Amari Cooper added a lot to that offense, which is why you saw them go 7-1 in the second half. Dak showed that he was able to perform pretty well under pressure. So I like the dynamic. Their defense is top 3, 4, 5 in the league. So Cowboys have a really good team. Second year of LVE. I like the Cowboys in the NFC East actually to come out of it, but I think they'll be neck and neck with the Eagles. I'm going to have the Texans in the same category, in the B tier. I think some people may be sleeping on them. All you hear about is the Colts, and I like the Colts. But the Texans are still a really good team. They got hot last year, made the playoffs, won that division. Deshaun Watson, to me, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the sport. I know he didn't play that well in the playoffs. Last year, his offensive line was awful. It should be a little bit better this year. The defense, great pass rush there with Watt, with Clowney, with everybody they got going on over there. Their weakness, their running back, I don't believe in Lamar Jackson. Obviously, they got great wide receiver weapons. Fuller needs to stay healthy. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best in the sport. Fuller has shown great chemistry with Watson when he's been on the field, but the guy can never stay healthy. But if he can stay on the field, potential A-team here in Houston. Colts, A-team. I love the Colts offensive line. Obviously, Nelson, I thought was a sleeper for Rookie of the Year last year. That's how big of an improvement he helped make for that offensive line. They went from the worst to the first in 1 year. That's how transformative that O-line was year over year. And you saw Andrew Luck prosper because of it. Coming off that injury, Luck looked great. Obviously, still have T.Y. Hilton. They brought in some free agents at the wide receiver position. I like the Colts a lot. I really do. The defense was much improved as well last year. And Frank Reich, I think, is a great coach. Chiefs, I think a lot of people would put A. I'm going to put B. Obviously, they lost a couple weapons there on that offense in Kareem Hunt. Tyreek Hill will be playing. Mahomes is as good as anybody. Andy Reid, great offensive mind, great head coach. Can't really get it done in the playoffs throughout his career, but he's a consistent 10-11 win coach every year. Last year, obviously, the Chiefs were even better than that, and they nearly made the Super Bowl. The defense, they lost some key pieces, whether it be Houston, whether it be D Ford. I know they brought in Clark. I'm going to have them as a B-tier team. I don't believe in their defense. I didn't believe in it last year. They were able to overcome that with their dynamic offense, and it certainly could be just as dynamic. I'm not going to be shocked at all if they win 12 or 13 games, but I'm going to have them as a B-tier team, a team I expect to win more like 10 or 11 this year. I just don't believe in the defense. Saints, S-tier. Super. The last 2 years, you could argue they've been the best team in the sport. They just haven't gotten it done. The Vikings, obviously, we all remember the Diggs catch, broke their heart. And then last year, the referee, no doubt about it, was a horrible play call. Drew Brees, since they've been able to establish this ground game, and yes, they lost Mark Ingram. They brought in Latavius Murray to replace him. Won't be quite as good, but Alvin Kamara is, unbelievable. Since they've brought in the ground game, it's really helped Drew Brees become an efficient quarterback. He's thrown less, but he's been much more efficient. You got to love, obviously, their wide receiver weapons over there with Michael Thomas, who they just signed to that long-term extension. Saints are great, especially when they're in the Dome. They're an S-tier team for me. Giants, I think a lot of people would have D, and yeah, I'm a Giants fan. I'm probably slightly biased, but I'm going to have them as a C-tier team. They're a lower C-tier team for me, but I do think if a lot of things break right, they could sneak in as the 6th seed. I'm not picking that at all. I don't want anybody to think I'm saying that. I'm not. I think they need a lot to break right, but it's possible. I do like the draft they had. I know a lot of people bashed the Daniel Jones pick. I like Dexter Lawrence a lot, especially in that division with Ezekiel Elliott to be able to clog the middle. The guy looks like an animal in preseason. I love DeAndre Baker. I think they improved that defense, and now a lot of people are going to say how they lost all these big names. Well, those big names were not performing. Whether it be Landon Collins, whether it be some of the big guys that they lost on the defense. I like Jabril Peppers. I like the bringing him in for the Beckham, and that's another play we obviously lost. Odell Beckham, need to touch on that. But I think with the improved offensive line, the Giants' offense could actually potentially be better or at least as good as last year. The Giants' offense was underrated last year. They were middle of the pack, and the second half of the season, they were near the top. So I think with the improved O-line, Barkley, obviously we got to hope Tate is not suspended. We'll see about that. But I think the Giants have the makings of a team that should win at least 6 games at least as a floor, and if things break right, could win 9. So I think they're a fringe C team, but I'll put them as a C team. Eagles, I'm going to have as a B team. A lot of people have them as an A or even an S team. I got them as a B team. They have a lot of talent. I'm not going to deny that. You always have to worry about Carson Wentz. Obviously, he's missed parts of the last 2 seasons due to injuries. 2 years ago, their Super Bowl season, he was the MVP through 13 weeks. He's an unbelievable quarterback when he can stay on the field. Now, is he going to be the same quarterback coming off the injuries? We'll have to wait and see. Reports are he's looked good in camp. Doug Peterson, great coach. They bring in Jordan Howard to help that poor ground attack last year. Also brought in Sanders, the running back. And the wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, Arcega-Whiteside was a nice pickup. They bring back Deshaun Jackson, who should at least be a threat on the outside. He's not what he was, but still a nice piece. The defense is really strong. The O-line is strong. So they're a good, well-rounded football team. I personally like the Cowboys slightly more, but the Eagles are definitely a playoff contender. Steelers, I think some people may have C. I'm going to have B. I still believe in the Steelers. I still believe in Mike Tomlin. I still believe in Ben Roethlisberger. I still believe in that offensive line. And I think their defense is pretty solid. A lot of people are going to be jumping on that Browns bandwagon. I'm sticking with the Steelers in the AFC North. I believe in that football team to at least contend to make the playoffs. I still believe in them, even with the departures of Bell and Brown. Connor showed he could get it done last year. Titans, C. I don't like the Titans at all. I never do. I always think people overhype them, but they always seem to do better than I think they will. This year, I think they're a 6-win team, maybe 7. I don't believe in Mariota. Never have. He's an okay quarterback, but I don't think they have enough weapons there. I just don't like that team. I think Henry's going to have a pretty good year for the Titans, and I think that division is way too tough with the Texans, with the Colts. I just don't see it, and the Jaguars are even improved. Dolphins, D, easy. Rosen, I think, maybe could be okay down the line. They have no weapons to help him out there. They are sending him to the Wolves. I think they overachieved last year, the Dolphins. I think they won 6 games, maybe 7. I don't think they win that this year. I think they're a 4 or 5 win team. Jets, C. I think the Jets improved a lot. Obviously, they had $100 million to spend, and they spent it on some big players. They improved the offensive line somewhat to help out Sam Darnold. They bring in a nice slot receiver in Jamison Crowder. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell. C.J. Mosley, the standout linebacker from the Ravens. So, yeah, they definitely improved their team. I still think they're a 7 or 8 win team. I have them pegged for 8, which is a huge step up from where they've been. I love the Quinn and Williams pick as well. So, if a lot of things break right, maybe they get a wild card, but I have them middle of the pack, or on an 8-win team. Browns I'll have as a B. Browns on paper have a lot of talent. Myles Garrett is great, obviously, on the defensive end. Denzel Ward, before the injury, looked great. Baker Mayfield set the record for most touchdowns by a rookie quarterback. I love Mayfield. You bring in Odell Beckham. You got Jarvis Landry. You got Njoku. You bring in Kareem Hunt for when he comes back. And the Browns on paper look phenomenal. I still need to see it before I put them as an A team. I think them and the Steelers are neck and neck. I personally am going Steelers still. I still believe in that team with their pedigree. The Browns are still inexperienced, and they have a combustible locker room. So the Browns, talent-wise, are nearly as talented as anybody, but I need to see it first. So because of that, I'll have them as a B team. Jaguars, C. Jaguars, 2 years ago, AFC title team. Last year, big disappointment due to the injuries, due to poor play. I don't like their weapons on the offense. Leonard Fournette's been pretty disappointing. They had Nick Foles, who should be obviously a leg up from Blake Bortles, but where's the weapons? The offense, I don't believe in. The defense, I do. I think they have a strong defense. They add Josh Allen via the draft. I do like the defense, and the defense could certainly keep them in games. And because of how strong their defense could potentially be, they definitely could be a playoff team. But I think some things need to break right, especially in that division. The AFC South is stacked. So I'll have them as a C team. Lions, same reason that I said about the Jaguars. I actually think the Lions have a talented roster, but their division is a powerhouse in the NFC North. But I like the Hockenson pick. I love their defensive line. Trey Flowers via free agency was a really nice addition, even though they overpaid. Obviously brought in Snacks Harrison last year. They have a really good front part of that defense. And Stafford, if he's healthy, is a good quarterback. So I'll have them as a C team. They need a lot to break right in that division. If they were in another division, maybe a low tier B team, but I'll have them as a C. Vikings, a lot of people would have as a C. I'm going to have them as a weak B. They're like near the bottom of the B for me, but I'm going to put them as a B. I think they're a clear playoff contender. I think a lot of people do not like them at all this year. A lot of people seem to be sleeping on them. They were very disappointing last year. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl last year. I love that talent on that team with the defense. You thought Kirk Cousins would help the team. Cousins was underwhelming, no doubt about it. And throughout his career, he's proven to be a guy that chokes in big games, can't beat big teams. So I certainly get people who are down on the Vikings and would probably have them as a C-tier team. I still love the talent on that team, both on both sides of the ball. The O-line was horrible last year. They did address that somewhat in the draft, so we'll have to wait and see if they improve there. If the O-line is improved with the weapons they have on offense and that strong defense, they, to me, are one of the more talented teams in the league. The question is, can they put it together? Bucks, first-year head coach Bruce Arians. I like Arians a lot. Great offensive mind. The problem is, the Bucks last year, that wasn't the problem. They had a very strong offense. The defense was awful, and I don't think they improved it enough. And, obviously they lose D-Jax, but they still have a very strong offense. The running back position, not so much, but overall the Bucks have probably a top 10, 12, 13 offense, but the defense is awful, and that's why I don't see them having a shot to make the playoffs. I have them as like a 6-win team. Niners, some people may go B. I'm going to go C, but I do like them. They get Garoppolo back. Garoppolo, we still have to see more from him. He's only played, I think, 5 or 6 starts in the NFL. Very talented quarterback. If you ask any scout, very talented quarterback. They had a weapon in Deebo Samuel. They got Kittle. They got a nice running back core. Obviously, Brees showed it. McKinnon's back. Defense, they had D Ford. They had obviously Bosa in the draft. And they already had a couple of nice pieces on that defense to begin with. So the Niners have definitely a talented team, and they are a sleeper to potentially win that West. But I need to see Garoppolo for more. He needs to show me a lot more before I could rank them higher. Rams, I think a lot of people are down on the Rams with the pending Gurley injury. I'm going to have them as an A team because I think they're definitely going to the playoffs. I don't know if I wouldn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to the playoffs. I love McVay as a coach. I love, Goff I don't love, but I think he's a good quarterback in that system. They have a nice trio of receivers over there. Gurley's got to stay healthy. That's a huge key. They lose Sue, but overall, they still have a great defense. Aaron Donald, to me, is the best player in football, period. So I'm still saying the Rams are a clear lock for the playoffs, and I think they win the NFC West. And if some things break right, could win the Super Bowl. Chargers, A team. I know they lost a couple of pieces there, Tyrell Williams, but I still like them a lot. We'll see what happens with Melvin Gordon. That could definitely affect them. But Rivers is like fine wine. He gets better every year. They have just a great, well-rounded roster. They really do. They're strong in all facets of the game. One of the best rosters in football. And I really like what they did in the draft as well. I love Adderley. Chargers as an A team. Packers may be a surprise to some people. I'm going A team. They won 6 games last year. Aaron Rodgers was underwhelming with a 25-touchdown, 2-pick season, if you want to call it that. I think Rodgers is extra motivated this year. Obviously, I like Devontae Adams on the offense. They lack some weaponry there, no doubt about it. The defense, they improved a lot via the draft, via free agency. I love the pickups via free agency. Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Adrian Amos. I like what the Packers did. Aaron Rodgers is my pick for MVP this year. I think he comes out to prove something this year, and I think the Packers get back to an 11 or 12-win team and win that NFC North. I like the Packers a lot. I've been saying it forever, ever since free agency was over. I'm a big Packers guy this year. Panthers, C team. Panthers, if everything breaks right, could be a B team, even an A team. Cam Newton was an MVP, 3-4 years ago? He needs to get back to that form if this team wants to be a playoff team. And I don't necessarily think he could do that. Will do that. I think he could, but I don't see it. McCaffrey, great running back. Very disciplined team, but I can't do it. I can't have him as a B team. Raiders, same thing. A lot of people are going to jump on the Raiders because of the big names they brought in. The fantasy players, right? Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams. Obviously, they drafted Clelin Ferrell to help that defense, even though it was a reach 4th overall. They brought in the running back. I don't see it. I still think that defense is way too weak. That division is way too difficult. They may win 7 or 8 games, but they're not a playoff team. Redskins, same thing. Redskins last year started 6-2. Smith goes down. They had a ton of injuries throughout the roster. This is a team that is strong in the nuts and bolts areas, like the areas that the stats don't show up. They really do have a lot of good players on this football team. Problem for me, Dwayne Haskins, rookie quarterback. He's probably going to get to start most of the games this year from all accounts. He only played 13 games in college football as a starter. He's still wet behind the ears. I don't love their weapons in the wide receiver core. I do like their defense. I like the Redskins team. I just don't like them enough. I think they're like a 7-8 win team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but if things break right, if Haskins storms the league like RG3 did, of course, I just don't see it because RG3 relied a lot on his athleticism with that RPO, something that, obviously Haskins isn't capable of. Cardinals, I'm going to go D. Some people may go C. Kyler Murray, obviously, is going to be electric. They bring in Kingsbury with that system. David Johnson should be improved, no doubt about it, with that dynamic. Not a lot of weapons in the wide receiver core. They have a couple of decent ones. The defense is still lackluster. The O-line is still near the bottom of the barrel. I'm still going to have them as a D. I don't believe in them as to have a realistic chance at contending for the playoffs. Bills, love what they did in the offseason. I'm still going to have them as a C. I think they're a 7 or 8 win team, much like the Jets. They really improved that offensive line. They brought in 6 free agent O-linemen. Now, none of them were huge, but they were all pretty solid players. It's going to help the O-line, which was, I think, ranked the worst in football last year. Either them, the Vikings, or the Texans, but they were damn near the bottom. The defense last year was top 5 in the sport. Josh Allen, with the addition of a Cole Beasley, should be improved. So I'm going to go C, but definitely our team you want to look out for that may be able to sneak in as a 6 seed. Seahawks, same thing. I think they're very much like the Bills. I got them around 8-8. I think they overachieved last year. Russell Wilson played out of his mind, and I could never count them out, being that Russell Wilson's their quarterback. I just still don't believe in that O-line. The defense is not what it was. I got to go see here. I just don't fully believe in this Seahawks roster to be a playoff team. And I think the Niners will be improved. And obviously the Rams. So I can't do it. And the Patriots, I don't even need to talk about. They're an S team. They're in the Super Bowl damn near every year. I don't care that Gronk's gone. Patriots are a Super Bowl contender. They are every year. And I guess if you look at this list, the Saints and Patriots are my Super Bowl pick. I look at it like there are 3 clear-cut teams from each conference to make the playoffs, being the Saints, the Rams, and the Packers in the NFC, the Patriots, the Colts, and the Chargers in the AFC. Then I have a bunch of teams in that B tier. Some I like more than others. The Cowboys, the Bears, and the Eagles would probably, and the Texans I like, would probably be the top guys there, the Chiefs as well. But all those teams are definite clear playoff contenders for me. And then the C teams need some help. They definitely need some help, but they have enough talent, I think, to contend late into the season. That's what that C tier is. D tier, that's the bottom of the league. So that's my rankings, guys. I'd like to get your thoughts. What did you think of the video? How did you like it? If you would like me to make another video like this, please shout out some suggestions, whether it be top 32 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, whatever it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Cheers.